Nobody wants to work anymore. You've heard it everywhere. But here is what those conversations ignore. Since 1979, American productivity has surged nearly 80%, while typical pay has climbed just 29%. In 2024, half of all workers considered walking away entirely. So is it laziness? Or is something structural breaking beneath the surface? The answer starts with a gap that's been widening for over 4 decades. In 1979, a typical American worker could expect their paycheck to grow alongside the nation's economic output. That link has steadily unraveled. Over the past 45 years, U.S. labor productivity, how much value each worker creates per hour, has soared by about 80%. Yet, the pay for most workers has risen just 29% during the same period. This gap is not an abstract chart. It defines the reality in paychecks and household budgets across the country. Economists call this the productivity pay gap. It describes how, since the late 1970s, the fruits of economic growth have increasingly flowed away from wages and toward profits. The share of national income going to workers, known as the labor share, has dropped from around 65% of GDP in the late 1970s to about 57% today. Meanwhile, corporate profits have claimed a bigger slice of the economic pie than at any point in recent history. The numbers from the Economic Policy Institute's Productivity Pay Tracker lay out the story. Output per worker has nearly doubled, but typical compensation has barely inched forward. During periods from 1996 to 2002, tight labor markets allowed wages to catch up briefly. But for much of the past 3 decades, median pay has been flat, even as workers produced more. Top earners have seen their incomes climb much faster, capturing a disproportionate share of the gains. For most, the promise that hard work would deliver a better life has become harder to keep. This structural disconnect is not about effort or attitude. It is about how the system now divides the rewards of growth. As the labor share shrinks, the pressure on individual workers grows, making every dollar earned feel stretched, no matter how much more is produced. Mia stands at her kitchen counter, reading a rent notice that just arrived in the mail. The number at the bottom is almost 4% higher than last year, part of the fastest rise in median rent since 2011. For millions of renters like Mia, this is not a blip. According to HUD and census data, the average American renter now spends more than 30% of their income just keeping a roof overhead. In high-cost cities, that share can climb well above 40%, pushing families past the threshold experts call rent-burdened. But the squeeze does not stop at housing. Medical costs have outpaced nearly every other household expense. Over the past 3 years, the Medical Care Consumer Price Index jumped 6.2%, driven by rising prescription prices and higher out-of-pocket fees. Employer health coverage, once a standard benefit, now covers a shrinking share of workers. For those without it, often younger or part-time employees, the cost of staying healthy can eat up more than 10% of their budget. Even a minor illness or a single emergency room visit can turn into a financial setback. These numbers are not just statistics, they shape daily life. Mia's paycheck covers groceries and utilities, but there is little left for savings or unexpected bills. She is not alone. Across the country, households are forced to make trade-offs, skipping routine care or moving further from work to find affordable rent. The promise that hard work alone guarantees stability feels distant when the essentials of living, shelter, and health demand so much. This is the reality behind the headlines, a cost of living crunch that makes every dollar count and every setback harder to recover from. Student debt now shadows an entire generation into adulthood. As of June 2024, Americans owe about $1.6 trillion in federal student loans. For many under 40, monthly payments compete with rent, groceries, and health insurance, each bill a reminder that education was supposed to be a ladder, not an anchor. 1 in 4 adults under 40 carries student debt, and the average borrower spends 5 to 10% of their disposable income on loan payments. This reality shapes how people view work, risk, and loyalty. The pressure does not stop at debt. Job volatility has become a defining feature of today's labor market. Nearly half of workers say they are considering leaving their jobs this year, a record high according to a 2024 CNBC survey. The so-called Great Resignation is not just a headline, it is a daily calculation. When layoffs, contract work, and shifting demands are the norm, staying put can feel as risky as moving on. David's story offers a sharp contrast to Mia's. He spent 2 decades at the same firm, believing that loyalty would deliver security. But after the layoffs of 2020, David found his skill set outdated. He pivoted to freelance consulting, not out of preference, but necessity. For younger workers, stories like David's reinforce the sense that no job is truly safe or permanent. The old promise, work hard, stay loyal, and stability will follow, has grown thin for those balancing debt and uncertainty. Financial strain and job churn feed each other. When every paycheck is stretched and the future of any job feels uncertain, it is no wonder that many see work as a transaction, not a calling. The risk of staying can feel as steep as the risk of leaving. For both Mia and David, the stakes are not just about money, they are about trust in the system and what work can realistically provide. Mia closes her laptop after a long shift, but her mind keeps racing. Notifications light up her phone. Work emails, group chats, and a stream of social media posts showing friends launching startups, traveling, or announcing new promotions. It's not just the workload that weighs on her, it's the sense that everyone else is moving faster, achieving more. According to a 2023 Headspace report, 63% of employees now report symptoms of burnout, a number that has climbed steadily since the pandemic. The pressure isn't limited to the office or the job site. Platforms like TikTok and Instagram have turned comparison into a daily ritual. A decade-long review of TikTok research found that heavy use is linked with higher anxiety, disrupted sleep, and lower self-esteem among young adults. The more time spent scrolling, the sharper the feeling of falling behind. For Mia, the gap between her reality and the highlight reels she sees online makes every setback feel personal. The constant push to hustle, to be more, do more, share more, drains motivation, not just energy. Burnout isn't just about being tired, it's about feeling like no amount of effort will ever be enough. In this environment, the pull toward alternative work, gig jobs, freelancing, or creative side hustles starts to look less like avoidance and more like self-preservation. Sophia logs into her laptop before sunrise, toggling between her marketing job and a growing side business as a content creator. She's not alone. According to McKinsey's 2024 estimate, over 30% of the labor force now earns income through platform-based gigs, delivering groceries, designing logos, teaching music, or building an audience on YouTube. For many, the appeal is clear. Set your own hours, pick your projects, and sidestep rigid office routines. That freedom is a big part of the draw. Sophia's hybrid path lets her keep employer health benefits while building a personal brand on the side, a strategy that feels safer than betting everything on one paycheck. But this freedom comes with new risks. Gig and creator work offer flexibility, but little predictability. Income can swing from feast to famine in a single month, and platform rules or algorithms can change overnight, wiping out hard-earned progress. Unlike the old model of stable employment, today's platform workers must constantly market their skills to stay afloat. Sophia spends as much time pitching new clients and learning the latest tools as she does on paid work itself. For some, this hustle is energizing. For others, it's exhausting. The promise of autonomy is real, but so is the volatility. As more people seek alternatives to traditional jobs, the conversation shifts. First, how hard are you willing to work? Then, how much risk can you tolerate, and what tools can help you manage it? Skill ownership is quietly changing what it means to get ahead. Workers who complete micro-credential programs, which are short, targeted courses in fields like data analytics or digital marketing, can see wage bumps of 12 to 15%, according to recent meta-analyses. These credentials offer a way to signal value in the job market without the time or debt of a full degree. Financial literacy delivers similar leverage. In studies tracking budgeting workshops, participants increased their savings by 38% on average and reported more confidence handling surprise expenses. Discipline and resilience matter too, especially in a world full of distractions. Deep work routines blocking time for uninterrupted tasks can raise productivity by 25% based on field experiments with knowledge workers. Meanwhile, resilience training isn't just a buzzword. 6-week workshops have reduced burnout rates by as much as 30%. Mia, facing a week of split shifts and side gigs, tests out 2 of these tools, a budgeting app to track spending, and a new habit of silencing notifications for an hour each morning. The changes are small, but the effects add up. For many, these strategies don't erase the pressures of today's economy, but they do offer a measure of control, one step at a time. Work is being redefined by necessity, not neglect. With over half of young workers considering career changes in 2024, the question now is how we adapt, not whether we retreat. Smarter, more sustainable work isn't just possible, it's essential. How will you shape your next move?